about Go 101. And if you know this about me, um, I cannot really get behind a beginner resource for Go. I haven't been able to for a long time. So I'm gonna I'm gonna try to avoid conversation about that and get this done under 10 minutes. I'm going to go evaluate go101.org really quick on stream here under 10 minutes just to give it an overview, an initial impression. And you can let me know what you think as well in the comments or however you want to do it. When it comes to resources, though, for beginners, I'm just going to TLDR this. I have not come across a really good resource so far. And I'm not saying that because I'm holding out or I want to sell you something or I'm going to sponsor something. I honestly can't find one. I used to really like the Head First. I love the Head First series. Okay. And I answered this question in another Zettelcast, but I really like Head First Go. But it's old. It's really old. I think it doesn't even cover 1.13 yet. I mean, really, we're about to have generics and everything at one point. Was it 18 coming up in December, I think? So I having a really hard time recommending a beginner resource right now. Right now, I would kind of just stay in a holding pattern. I would do Tour of Go. That's my formal recommendation. So I'm just going to keep putting this down. A formal recommendation is still Tour of Go. But I have another Zettelcast about this already. I'm going to put related here, and you can go read it. I'm going to put a reference to it. I actually wrote an extensive summary of this thing. So I'm going to go find that really quick, and let's do the find link. I think I said go. Yeah, let me see if that gets it for me. And run that through Bash. Here's all my stuff on Go. Let's go the one that's out there, and I'll leave it in there for you. I'm still watching my clock. Don't worry. Where is it? I'm trying to just leave the one in here that matters. So this should be in the show notes on YouTube, so you'll be able to click on it and just go to it. Hopefully. I don't know if those links actually come through. They might not actually. Golang is far more secure than Rust. We'll come back to that question. I'm going to answer that in a bit. Learning Go for cloud native Kubernetes, set environment, Google better. Man, there's a lot of stuff here. It was it was a relatively recent one, so it should be one on the end. Yeah, a lot of stuff about Go. Rob Pike's Why Learn Go. That's really good. Are the boost videos on Go going up? I'm doing Go coding live on minimal projects every Saturday morning, 8 to 11. So just put that out there if you want to ask specific Go questions. Good way to learn is just watch people and pair program, right? I don't see it. I don't see it. Oh, there it is. I passed it. What is the best way to learn Go? Okay, so there is a Zettelcast out there, a ZET I call it. A ZET stands for slip. You can talk about that. So there is something out there. I've already written about that. You can go read about that. But the short answer is it's still Tour of Go. So let's actually go do a really quick evaluation. We have 8 minutes to do that in. So let's go actually open this. I'm going to do something that I always do to every site and see how well it supports graphic browsers. This is usually a real indication of how clued in the people are who make the thing. So go details, tips. It looks like it's very friendly to links. That's really encouraging. I'm super happy about that. Let's go ahead and open it up in a actual web browser. How about that? So I already have a web browser that's zoomed in. If you just give me a second here, this one should display stuff a little bit better because it's already zoomed. I can still see the chat and stuff. So let's look at this one. Oh, this one's not zoomed in. Okay, well, let's zoom it. So let's look at this. Google's Level Docs Server Code Reader, the book. It has a book, huh? Go 101 is a book focused on Go syntax and semantics. Go 1.17 ready. Tries to help Gophers through this book. Collects blah, blah, blah. Very good. It looks like a book. LeanPub stuff. I like it when people publish LeanPub. If I were going to do a Boost book, that's probably how I'd do it. I don't know. I like LeanPub. I don't like Gitbook at all because the design's horrible. But about Go 101, why is this book written? I mean, why? I mean, because there's some matter. 2016. Looks like he was wrong. Details. Gave up. Isn't the book almost finished now? Book got being canceled. Not book going on. It sounds like some stuff is. Hey, Billy. So, what are the causes of your confusion? What do you think? Think and Go is a thing. I like it. It's got kind of a conversational style. Basic concepts, terminologies. This is going to be interesting to see if they actually pull that off. I'm going to have to read it. It looks like I'm going to have to read it. But so far, it looks. Let's go see how they introduce it. That's actually a real. If they don't talk about Go mods in the first lesson, I'm going to be disappointed. Go has many features, some unique, some borrowed from programming. Built in. This is kind of an overview. Slice pointers. Yeah, no. This is not a beginner book. It's not, because it's talking about polymorphism and pointers before it's even talked about. Not to mention it's using like, what is this? What style is that? There's a style guide they're following here where they don't initial cap and uses punctuation. This is failed punctuation, big time right here. Big time failure in punctuation. I'm a little turned off already. Here's why. I've been working with beginners as young as 12 doing this stuff, younger sometimes. And when they do it, we only have 4 minutes left to summarize this. When they go to code in something, I want to write something that is like the head first style. This is not the head first. This is using terminology without. I hate it when authors bring in terminology that they just assume you know. They don't actually. And this, this is a criticism that goes for any book. It's not. I'm not attacking this book, but one of my biggest pet peeves with educational material in general is they don't know who they're writing for. They haven't got an established target listener or reader, and wikis are really bad because then you have people writing for all sorts of different people, and there's no central voice. And the reason I really like the beginner head first books, which is, is because they are as silly and quirky as they are, which is a mnemonic device that's been proven overwhelmingly by scientists and competitive memory people to help you remember things. They approach it from a memorable, if not simplistic way. That's not everybody's style, and that's totally fine. But I like that style. I like to be able to go, sit down with a 12-year-old or somebody and keep a non-academic mechanism and do not assume anything. So if I were to actually recommend a beginner book to go, and I've to this point, I'm just throwing my hands in the air, and let me make my point here. So okay. I want people to be able to write a book that teaches Go as a first language. And so far, this book, not only is it not a book for Go's first language, but it's using terminology, functors, embedding, memory safety, all this stuff that if you have no idea about computer science, if you've never been through a computer science course, you've never done any programming, you're going to be totally lost in the first introduction because you have no idea what these things are. They haven't been introduced in any way. And so let's give him credit. So it's possible that he has adopted the same position that Tour of Go has done, as well as everybody else who's ever written a Go book, that Go is your second language. If Go is going to be your second language, and your first language is C, which is what the Go people would have you learn, Rob Pike and Kent Thompson and Rob Gessler, they would have you learn C as your first language. That is their personal preference, because that's what they grew up with. They were instrumental in creating it, blah, blah, blah. That's how they would have you learn. Now, I don't know if that's necessarily the best way to learn, but they themselves would not recommend Go as a first language. It's really clear because if you read the Tour of Go and everything else, they're doing this language and pointer references and stuff like that. And they're using language and approaches that are for people who have already got a handle on what this stuff is about. And by the way, if you want to make Go your second language, then your first language better not be something that doesn't have pointers. Or dereferencing of some kind. I mean, most JavaScript, even JavaScript component, they don't have pointers, but they have dereferencing and things like that. So, you could probably get away with going to JavaScript or even Bash, frankly, and Python, and then going to Go after that, and then learning about pointers in Go, and then maybe learning C after that. But to me, the optimal path continues to kind of bubble up to be, learn a super simple scripting language to get the idea of logic and if statements, if this, then that, and when, then, and all that. Get all that down. You can get that as early as 8 years old. You can learn those things by dragging blocks around on Code Combat or whatever, code.io or whatever. You can get this sense of how computers work and logic and imperative versus event driven and all of that. You can do all of that first. And you can, I don't put down things like Scratch anymore, because some of the best people have ever come to me had learned everything they learned from Scratch about how stuff interacts and all that. And so the basics of the mental models that you need, algebraic, kind of functional linear algebra and all that. And so then they get all of that down, and then they come to a language, whether it's usually JavaScript or Python is their first language. Sometimes it's Java because that's what they teach, not the same as JavaScript. And in my case, Bash maybe. So, and then they kind of apply those, principles they learned in some colorful learning method into, actual code, but they still haven't really learned how the computer works. They haven't learned how memory works. And there's no better language to understand that than C. There just isn't. C is the dominant language on the planet. So it makes sense that your first real language is C, in my opinion. Python and JavaScript are scripting languages, and I'm going to continue to call them that because, yes, you can program, but I like to distinguish between scripting and, real serious development and programming, which is usually done in C or Go or Java or, Clojure or Haskell or, any Rust, any of these other languages. Those are kind of, so my intent is to learn a very simple scripting language first to get the ideas down, perhaps even a graphical language even before that as a really young kid. And then to, learn C, and then to learn Go. And you don't have to learn all of C. C is a very simple language. C is one of the simplest languages on the planet. It's complicated because of all the stuff you have to do to make it do what you actually want. Like you basically set up a dictionary in Python. There's no such thing in C. You have to bring in an extra library or make your own. So learning about C is really important, and I think that should be your first language. I'm kind of over my time here, but this introduction to Go 101 has just kind of reiterated my position on this even more, and that's kind of what you're getting out of this video. You're getting my own conclusion, relatively recent conclusion, that C is the best first real language, and that Go is a phenomenal second language after you learn C. It's the same thing the creators of Go would have recommended. It's the same thing most university professors would recommend who know what they're doing. A lot of them would still teach you, have you learn, Java or Lisp, and then you'd be, what are you going to do with that, right? It helps you think about computer science and stuff, but it's not really practical. Every other thing in the planet's been made in C. If you want to layer C++ on that later and start doing game development, great, blah, blah, blah. So C is a great first language. I wasn't planning on going down that rabbit hole, but the truth of the matter is Go 101 is already assuming you know C stuff. So why not go learn C first? That's it.